Hello, everyone. My name is David Marks. I'm the digital media specialist for Weiskopf Consulting, all things technical and social. I got that tagline right. I'm proud of myself. Sometimes I flip the social and the technical, but this time I actually got it right.
I don't think it
So,
matters to them, but I do want to say one thing. If you have a question at any point during the event, please type it into the Q&A, and I will stop David because it's easier to answer the question when you're in the moment as opposed to going back to where we were, and we love questions. So don't be shy. Please enter your questions. And yes, I believe we are ready to go, David.
sounds good. Okay, so today's topic is digital advertising. Where should I spend my money? So with more and more platforms being created every year, obviously we're talking about social media platforms, and as a result, more and more advertising avenues being created. Hold on, technical difficulties. Deciding where to spend your organization's digital ad dollars can be dizzying, to say the least. So I'm assuming a lot of you know that many of these social media platforms are just a kind of way to generate ad dollars, but they are a very critical way to get your messaging out there. As Virginia said, social media isn't about as much about virality, which I don't know if that's a word or not. It's more about being pay for play. So if you are on certain platforms, it really only makes sense to advertise on those platforms. But where should we spend those dollars? That's the question for today.
Just so you know, David, virality is a word.
Sweet. I'll take it. It's great.
I thought I would look that up for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've been using that in presentations for a while now, and I never really took the time to check if it were a word or not. Okay. So on October 27th, 1994, the world of advertising was forever transformed by a small graphic bearing the presumptive words, "Have you ever clicked your right mouse here? Your mouse right here? You will." This, as you're seeing on your screen, was the first official digital banner ad from Wired Magazine's online offshoot, Hot Wired. Back in that era of the internet, you basically had one choice for digital ad spend, as I just mentioned, Hot Wired. So this little thing right here eventually turned into the multi-billion dollar, I would say that's safe to say, $1 billion at social media and digital advertising market. See if we can make this whole thing work here. I thought that was cool, so I just threw that in there. Fast forward 27 years, and the number of digital advertising platforms seems endless. Platforms such as Facebook, Waze, which we'll get into in a little bit, Spotify, Twitter, Snapchat, Google, TikTok, LinkedIn, etc., offer an enormous amount of types of ads. While this can be a good thing in terms of the number of options available, it can also be quite confusing to figure out how and where to spend your digital ad dollars.
Did you want a number for that?
Yes.
378.16 billion in US dollars is spent worldwide on digital advertising.
And that's what I was thinking. It was either going to be billions or trillions, and I'm pretty sure we're not quite at trillions yet.
No, 378 billion. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Virginia.
Yep.
Okay. So the first step in this whole process is determining your budget. And I'll get to the bread and the leftovers in a second. This step can be relatively simple or relatively complex. Some of the clients we've worked with in the past use the leftover method, quote unquote. In other words, whatever money they have left over from other forms of advertising or marketing ventures will be used for digital marketing advertising. Personally, I don't really recommend this as a method for digital marketing advertising because it can be such a very powerful and useful way to reach new and existing customers. However, some organizations still utilize this as a way to advertise simply on digital platforms. Because some digital advertising platforms require a monthly minimum, $60 per month for Waze, $250 per month for Spotify. And before we get questions, Waze is kind of a crowdsourced traffic app. Think Google Maps on crowdsourcing. It's an easy way to get traffic updates, and has also turned into quite the advertising platform for local businesses. And Spotify is a local or a music streaming app, music and podcast streaming app That's most of you have probably heard of. But if the digital advertising platform requires a monthly minimum, this will help to guide your decision as to where you can allocate ad funds if you're choosing those platforms. However, many other platforms will let you advertise for as little as $10 to $20 per month, not a very large spend. This looks fun. From the simple to the complex. When it comes to organizations with more ad spend capability, that's when things get a little more complex as to determining where to allocate ad dollars. Even if you have over $250 or more per month to spend on digital advertising, things can get hairy really quickly. Here's some of the questions you may be asking yourself. Should we spend a majority of our money on Facebook ads? How about Google? Would LinkedIn ads work for us? How about Instagram or Twitter or even TikTok? See if I can get this to work. Take a breath. We will get through this. I thought this graphic was pretty cool, but just take a breath. It can be overwhelming at times, but just start where you can, you test, and you move forward. So after determining your ad budget and goals, which we will talk about in a little bit, determine your target audience. Who is the audience you're targeting? What are their key demographics and characteristics? Things to consider would be age, what they like, what they don't like, location, jobs. This will help you determine which ad platforms you should consider. And there are some tools out there that can help you kind of figure out who you're reaching now. In terms of who you would like to reach, that's more of an internal, I believe, discussion. But in terms of who you are reaching now, Facebook, for example, on their Facebook Insights offers the ability to see different demographics of people who are following your page. But there are different tools that you can use to kind of figure out who you're reaching. And then you can use that information to determine if you're reaching the right people or if you'd like to reach someone else or new set of people.
I have a question here, David.
Yes. Yep.
Actually, it's my question. Are
Okay.
you going to talk about how, because of the privacy policies, when you're determining your audience, it's harder now?
So I'm not getting that granular into it at this point, but I would, that's a good mention. What I should mention is because of the new privacy settings that Apple has set up and some of the other kind of more device-centered services offer, such as iOS 14.5, I believe, something along those lines, where they introduced a way to basically opt out of being tracked. Now, what I will say about that is if a person chooses to like your page, theoretically, that should have no impact on seeing the demographics of the people who already like your page. What you would run into with the problems would be is if you would like to retarget them or reach them outside of the app, essentially. That's where you get into a little problematic area.
Yeah, I would like to say Apple is driving this privacy piece, whether good or bad, because not only when it comes to advertising, it's also happening on your email marketing platforms. They've changed, September 27th, they change a bunch of rules, and there's going to be issues with deliverability, which is a whole nother subject. But Apple's really driving this privacy piece along with the GDPR. That makes it harder for us. Yes,
it does. It does. For better or for worse, these things are happening. But I have firm belief in digital marketing's kind of collective strength to find a way, not to find a way around this sounds kind of not great, but to find a way to do this effectively and effectively reach the types of people that we would like to reach.
Yes, I just thought we should talk a little bit about that because it's becoming a little bit challenging.
That is, good call, good bring up. So common goals for ads include increasing awareness, increasing consideration, and increasing conversions. Whether that be increasing traffic to a website or getting more people to download an ebook, or getting more people to buy your product or service. Having a goal in mind prior to creating ads will save you hours of frustrations, not to mention wasted ad dollars. I've come across many people in the past who just they boost posts on Facebook. They don't know who they're sending it to. And then that's why you get sometimes on Facebook the errant ads that really make no sense to you. Like, why would I get this ad? For example, me getting an AARP ad when I was like 20 years old doesn't really make a lot of sense. But that's kind of what happens if you don't know exactly what to do with the ad dollars that you have at your perusal or use. Determining goals will also guide you in your decision on where to spend your ad dollars to make things a little bit more clear. Are you looking for general awareness of your product or service to start the marketing silo? Allocating more money for Facebook and Google display ads may be your way to go. Are you trying to get more people to drive to your business? Waze, which we talked about previously, WAZE, and or Google may be the best solutions. Budget and ad dollars or ad goals are two powerful influencers in determining where you should spend your ad dollars. Google, the almighty Google. And I should mention the following slides are to be used as a reference, as many of them have targeting options that will go a long way in determining how effective your ads are. With over 72% of internet users using Google for search, it makes sense from a pure volume sense, as well as an ROI and segmentation sense to use Google. According to Google studies, and I'll take that with a grain of salt, and their economic impact report, advertisers on the platform will on average generate $2 for every $1 spent. That's an average of doubling your investment. In addition to being highly targeted, there is no minimum ad spend. So you can go in there, and if you only have $10 to spend, you can spend $10 on Google ads. I would throw in, don't expect a lot in return for that. But yes, if budget is an issue, you can work with Google to kind of increase awareness and keep it more general. So obviously, the more you spend on Google or any of the platforms that we'll talk about, the more results you will tend to see, with all else being equal. So in regard to return on investment, targeting, segmentation, and growth, budgeting for Google ads is a wise choice in 2021. Facebook, whether you hate it or love it, is here, and people still use it. Surprisingly, it's not as quote unquote an older people's platform as people maintain it to be. It's still an incredible tool to reach any demographic, even with the privacy concerns that Apple and everyone else has been targeting. Because of its sophisticated targeting means, an organization can pretty much reach most segments of the population on Facebook. So setting aside a portion of your budget for Facebook advertising is usually a wise choice in 2021.
So is this a current slide?
Yes, this is pretty current. So yeah, and that was the point of one of the articles I was looking at too when I researched this, is that it's actually skewed younger than most people would think.
Yeah, because Facebook's been around long enough now that the 50 plus, I would think that would have grown.
You would think so, but it's still actually being heavily used by the younger population.
Okay.
So good thing to keep track of. And since Facebook owns Instagram, for those who don't know, it's really easy and costs the same to run the ads on Instagram as well. So those are the two kind of main platforms I consider must-haves. Even if it's just a portion of your budget, I still think it's a good idea to allocate a little bit of the funding to Facebook and Google. It just makes sense to me because they're so huge. Now what? You may be thinking this after the last few slides, and it's a great question. The two first platforms that were mentioned are pretty much a no-brainer. If your organization still has money left after spending the ad dollars on Google and Facebook, now what? Go back to your target audience. If you work for an agency or your target audience is more of the professional organizational crowd, spend money on LinkedIn ads. Even though their platform isn't as robust as Facebook or Google, it's a solid bet when targeting professionals. Is your target audience younger and are interested in terms like trending? Then you might want to take a look at TikTok. TikTok started as a fun, simple Vine-like platform. Vine, rest in peace, was a great little platform, 6-second long videos, very concise, but very fun.
What was that, David?
Vine.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't hear it. Yeah.
That's okay. But TikTok has grown into more than a serviceable social media ad platform with very sophisticated targeting options. You can break down your target audience by lookalike audiences, age, gender, language, interest, and behavior. It seems like you can produce robust results with not a huge ad spend minimum either. Are you a local business that's looking to get more brand awareness and people to visit your business location? This is where Waze might be an option to look into. Waze is a Google Maps like, as I mentioned, crowdsourcing traffic app with an ad platform focused on local awareness and drive-tos. Spotify, another option for those who don't know, is a music and podcasting streaming platform. It does have a minimum of $250 per campaign, but it has grown into a good option for advertisers who are into the more audio sort of side of things. And they have a new self-service advertising studio called Ad Studio. Advertisers can reach users based on listening habits and their characteristics. And the all-important question, what if I'm not seeing the results I would like to see after a few months? You should be continually reviewing results, which you define, or goals, which you define early in the process of the ads every month. If you don't, you run the risk of losing valuable ad dollars. If you aren't seeing the results you would like to see, try changing the campaign type on the current platform you are utilizing, awareness to consideration to conversions, etc. Try that first. One of the problems may be that your campaigns may not be in line with your goals. You can also try adding more ad dollars if they are available. Only after trying those two steps mentioned would I recommend trying new platforms. Again, though, but only stick with the ad platforms that are aligned with your goals and budget. You can also try multiple platforms if you have more money to invest, but be sure to keep close tabs on results through tracking and UTM codes to ensure where each download, conversion, buy, or website visit is from.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you because they're gonna need to know what UTM codes are. And I
So
think it's a good time to talk about sending them to a place where that you want them to do something too. Not
Yes,
just,
so
okay, go ahead.
yeah, so UTM codes are an appendage at the end of addendum. I don't know if that's the right word. It's
Yeah.
Friday. We'll say appendage at the end of a URL code. You might see them in several of the websites that you visit. So essentially it's, for example, www.facebook.com !UTM-source, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a way to track where certain visits are coming from a given website. So if I wanted to track where a conversion is originally initiated from, I would append the URL with the UTM code that I set up to track where that conversion originally came from, whether that be Google or Facebook or wherever.
And the UTM codes are created either on Facebook or Google.
Yeah, more so on Google than Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for the landing page, yes, you want to send them somewhere where you are giving them value. You want to send them to somewhere where you are giving them something in return for exchange for what they're looking for. You want to send them directly to the landing page you'd like them to go to. Don't have them click off to another landing page. You really want to be able to send them directly where you would like them to complete an action, essentially, and
Right.
what action that would be.
So just putting the advertising dollars and fitting the budget, you have to look at the back end and know that, okay, I'm pushing to this specific landing page. I know it's work, and I'm giving them this, and I want them to do this. So you can start seeing the conversions, because this is where you can capture an email address. You can give them a download. You can have them watch a video, something that is for them that gets you return, not just from your advertising dollars, but puts them into your sales funnel.
Yep, that's exactly right. Okay, on to the next. So I'm going to offer up a few scenarios here and kind of guide you through my thinking process. So I'm the digital marketing coordinator for a small to medium-sized business whose goal is to sell software which gives audio creators tools to create podcasts. I have a budget of $500 per month to spend on advertisement. What would be the appropriate digital advertising avenue plan for this service? Before we get into the answer, or at least my answer, let me say that there may be more than one correct answer. Early in the process, research and best judgment both come into play when determining which platform to spend your money on. Research your specific scenario by Googling what companies in your industry tend to use for advertising, create a plan, and execute. But if I were in this position, I would allocate $125 for Google ads, $125 for Facebook ads, and $250 for Spotify ads, which makes sense because that's kind of the target audience that I'm aiming for. I would follow this specific plan for a month, review the results, which in this scenario may be website traffic and software purchases, and adjust the budget allocation as necessary. The answer to most of these things is test, test, test. You always want to be testing what ads are doing for you and if they are living up to what you would like them to do. If not, take a look at the budget, take a look at where you're spending your money, and adjust as necessary. Scenario 2. I'm the marketing coordinator for a local business whose goal it is to get more people to drive to our location. I have a budget of $200 per month to spend on ads. What would be the appropriate digital advertising avenue plan for the service? Again, I start by saying there may be more than one correct answer, but I would personally allocate $100 per month for Waze, $50 per month for both Google and Facebook. After a month, it gets kind of repetitive. I would review the results, test, 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 and make any appropriate changes to the plan and strategy. So, with that all being said, I know that was a lot of information. Are there any questions?
Well, they take their questions in. I am gonna say that it's very important that you get 30 or 60 days of information before you make a decision. You might get on an ad something right away and think, oh, this one's working, and then get nothing. Or you may put an ad out there and nothing happens for a little bit, and then all of a sudden it kicks in. So you really need at least 30 to 60 days of data before you start making changes or decisions. Would you agree,
Absolutely.
David?
I would agree, and I would say that don't give up hope. If you're not seeing the results you like to see right off the bat, don't just give up and try. My recommendation would be to adjust and try new things.
Yeah, because you before, I'm assuming you've done printed material, you've done postcards, you spent money on all these things. And think about how much you spent on postage and a postcard and sending out. If you took $100 a month and put it into one platform that has your demographics on it, give it 60 days and see what happens.
Absolutely.
And then reevaluate it. Because everyone wants to see a one-for-one. I did advertising, people came in, and it's just not that way anymore. We make assumptions based on history, and it's not always that, when I say history, I mean, we put an ad in the newspaper, people came, we sent out a postcard, people brought those postcard in. But did you ever evaluate how many people actually saw that ad to how many people actually responded to it? And the same thing with postcards. How many did you send out to get those 2 that came in? So the same thing is on digital media. You just have to wrap your head around it a little differently.
Yep, absolutely.
So we have a question.
Sure.
If you're new to buying ads, what is a reasonable dollar amount to start with for paid ads?
So great question, and you're going to hate this answer, but it really depends. It really depends on. It's not
nice non-answer, David.
It's a non-answer. I'm great with those. So, and let me explain that. As mentioned in the presentation, you have to be confident and know that you'll get the results you think you'll get. If you aren't confident in your ability to be a first time or to be an advertiser on digital platforms, I would say start off slow, maybe $50 to $100 a month, if that, and build up based on the results you see. But it really depends on how comfortable you are with your digital marketing savantness, for lack of a better term, as well as what budget you have open to you. Again, that's a terrible answer, but it really depends on what you have, what you're comfortable with, what your budget is, and essentially who you're trying to reach. Because if you have the money, obviously, as I mentioned, the more money you spend on digital advertising, the more money you tend to get back from it. I would say that, though, you have to be comfortable and know what you are doing,
Right.
if that in that aspect.
So I would also like to add to that, David, in terms of, we all like to do things ourselves, and the platforms make it so you can do it yourselves. But do you know exactly what you should be doing? So even if you don't want to hire a company like ours who does the work with you, in conjunction with you, and helps you through it as a monthly service, you could do a consultation where you do 2 hours and learn what you need to do and then execute it yourself. But
Mhm.
just, David alluded to it early on in Facebook, just boosting a post and it says you got 20,000 impressions, but you didn't get the end piece. That's their way of making money for nothing. I have to
Mhm.
tell you, yes,
Yep.
you can do some boosting, some posts for awareness, and understand that that money is just awareness. You're not asking for that analytics on the end to quantify it, because you're just boosting it out there for awareness. So you need to know what the whole plan is and then execute it. So you can put money in, but you need to know how to quantify it and what's going on is what I need to say.
Mhm.
Have someone hold your hand if you're not going to pay an agency to do it for you.
Yep, absolutely. Because if you don't have a good idea of what you're doing, you're just going to be throwing your money away.
Okay,
Yep.
I have another question.
Sure.
What types of ads do you recommend on LinkedIn to reach CEOs of small businesses?
So you can run any type of ad. Essentially, you are able to target any ad you liked, whether that be a conversion ad, but getting them to sign up for something, maybe a newsletter or something along those lines. Whatever your goal is, whatever you would like them to do, you're able to target any sort of position, whether that be CEO, president, vice president, president, on any type of campaign that you'd like to run.
And I think that one of the things that we didn't talk about because we were talking about money is that there are 3 types of campaigns you look at, in 3 buckets. David, do you want to just, because
Or
it's aware, yeah, sorry.
awareness, consideration, and conversion.
Yeah, it's a engagement piece. You have to develop a relationship with these
Hmm.
people online, even though it's not a face-to-face to begin with, and take them down that path to conversion.
Absolutely. Yep, that's exactly right. You don't just throw them into the conversion ad expecting them to buy something right away. You have to build that relationship, build that awareness, build that engagement, and then move along the marketing funnel.
And we would all like to just say, buy this now and have it done.
Hmm.
Let's
Yep.
put it out there, but that's not how
Absolutely.
it works. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Any other questions?
I do not see any other questions this morning.
Okay.
I want to thank everyone for coming. It's always a great half hour on these Fridays that we do. Again, our next one is October 15th. We would love to have you join us. And if you have any other questions, you can certainly email me and I would be happy. I see a lot of people I know today. And the attendees, I want to say hello to all of you. Thank you for joining us, and to have a great Friday and a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.